immortalize you?
Oh no.
morning, how are you?
Rationale for service?
Yes.
Okay.
Danny Health.
Nice to meet
Nice to meet you, thanks for coming. You'll at least need a note card. And if you want any of the slides or a list of our heritage students, it's great. Hi. How's it going? Good to see you again. Thank you. You'll at least need a note card.
Alright.
Everything else is optional.
Is there a math teacher named Eric Soller?
Yeah, he's one of my best friends, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Rick Mount used to teach with me at Ellis in Pittsburgh.
Oh, really?
Years ago, but please tell myself.
I will. He actually,
How long since he's been here?
yeah, he's our department chair and has been for 14 years. They just accepted him as director of teaching and learning at our school. So he's about to take over, basically how to improve teaching and learning throughout the school.
Whoa.
He's just like the best educator.
I get my students from that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah. Wait, remind me of your name again? Rick.
Awesome.
And do you, is that, I mean, I've heard so many teaching stories throughout the years. Is it a pretty progressive?
It's all relative. I think so.
Yeah.
It's the girls.
One of the actually.
Okay.
Usually really
Okay.
everybody getting up.
Pretty much. I wonder if that's the first school you taught
But it's so hard to
or the
get.
second
I
one.
think it's where he was.
Focus on what to do.
Got it, okay. Yeah, I think it may have been his second one. Yeah. That's great. Really nice to meet you. He'll be happy to meet you. Thanks. You'll at least need a note card. Only obligation. So note card, and everything else is up to you.
So yeah, all that.
As full-time workers, no.
Well, I used to also do more administrative side. I was in charge also of doing like technical ordering and like.
Happy for what you all are doing. After seeing that presentation, I feel like I'm
So
good.
all.
Yeah, exactly. Done in 6 minutes. So yeah, it'll be like,
That's great. Yeah, I'm very excited about it, but yeah.
So we had a student life committee, and it was teachers from every unit, because we had kids from our 12, and then parents, board members,
good.
and high school students.
Wow.
And we would meet after school, like an evening board meeting once a month.
Excuse me, we are actually
Right
right above where we, oh yeah,
Yeah.
right, because that's right, duh, we're 218, okay, yeah, we're right above. I was like, why is
Is it not set up at all?
that? Actually, where's,
We need a move table.
Are you presenting
oh,
again?
upstairs, yeah, it's
But-
totally different.
Okay. So I'll see you there, right?
Yeah, I guess because if they've got somebody here right after we went, because they'll probably do like questions and stuff, so yeah, okay. Just want to get you this.
Which was great.
Hi.
It was this way to kind of
You'll at
get.
least need a note card. Everything else is just what you want.
And I was on it as a student.
Forward, yeah.
We listened to, but
I
most
actually
of it
realized
was
I have it on the
like,
stage drive, so
perspective of it.
Hi. You'll at least need a note card.
Yeah,
Everything
it's,
else is just
it is interesting, and it's funny, like there's, I like working with parents, I think they're going to plan that it's not good now, like working with parents, I go actually, one of the things that, like, that I have to contact with, because it is like this very.
Some of our curriculum really I mean, they walk it through it.
Our school is very,
It's for, it goes from first to fifth grade. And it's the first one.
It's useful, especially now that I'm going to think about, sort of looking at service and opportunity to change that.
Where are you looking?
That just,
Well, we could
cut up if you want to.
I'm constantly like, yeah, but it's recurring during that run. And they, if I heard like a little bit of,
Maybe I'll.
Right.
I'm trying to get things from here.
Right.
These are the restraints I'm having. I might be able to go
I
carry to
think my entire next year basically
Hi.
is that I
Oh,
just had a-
you'll at least need a note card. Everything else is just if you want it.
Yeah, I might be
It's
able
a
to.
very traditional program. And so it'll be, there'll be some changes.
The comics that comes to mind, they're in DC. They doing that struggle where there's visionary teachers who have an understanding of what hazards and they're with parents with politicians. They're like crazy used to having to call out. And there are a couple
You'll
of
at
days
least
a
need
year.
a card. Everything else is
2 years.
2
Right,
years.
right, right.
No, this is very different.
Feel free to sit. I said feel free to sit and put stuff down if you want.
I found that having this office or linked to the diversity
I appreciate it.
to house them together.
All right, I think we'll just go ahead and begin. It's nice to see you all. Thanks for coming. My name is Danielle Pasno, and I am the Director of Outreach and Public Purpose at the Spence School, which is a K-12 girls' school in Manhattan, New York City. I live in Brooklyn, New York, so when I saw that, are you from Brooklyn?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
I'm going back for spring break.
Oh, terrific. I'll be there for part of it, so. When I saw that slide of, that people are moving to Cleveland, that's not, it's probably not. Spence, yes, the K-12 girls' school, right on Central Park on the Upper East Side. That picture has nothing to do with community engagement, except it's just kids standing on our street. I liked it, so I put it up there. So we're gonna start off by, just as a group, say what do we already know to be true about good service work or community engagement or whatever your school uses to talk about this type of work in schools. So what do we know to be true about what's good service work and engagement looks like? Yeah.
Student voice.
Okay, student voice,
Needs to be reciprocal.
reciprocal
Yeah.
with the organization or
Yeah.
the person or, yeah.
Helps kids, particularly our students who are private schools, gets them out of their comfort zone.
Ready? Okay.
Should
Anything
be relevant
relevant to the, to whom?
to both groups.
Great. Yeah,
Duration makes a big
yeah, absolutely. So we know all these things that are good, I guess, signifiers or good qualities of service work. And so basically, the question we have to ask is how do we go about making this live within our schools? And basically this presentation is about how Spence has gone about trying to make it live within Spence and New York City. So, just the outline of the workshop, we're going to answer 4 questions. The first being, what are the Spence enduring understandings for service? I don't know how many of you know Grant Wiggins' work, the late Grant Wiggins' work about backwards design. It's what I've always used to design curriculum for, I'm a math teacher as well, so my math classes, and it's what we've used to design our K-12 service and social justice curriculum. How were the enduring understandings created? That was a year-long process, but I think it might be interesting. How are the enduring understandings used? Last but not least, how are we at Spence at reimagining service as social justice through those enduring understandings? So I'll answer all 4 of those. Yeah. But first, on a note card, I'd like you to write down 1 misunderstanding you believe your school community has about service. So 1 misunderstanding that you believe is held generally by the population, being parents, students, faculty. There's note cards up here if you need to get one. There's also a slide, the slides coming out, I don't know what it's called. Oh, thanks. Thanks. more seconds to finish that up, and then you can just put it to the side once you're finished. So something that I believe is that beliefs drive behaviors, and that if a school is acting in a way that they say doesn't match with their beliefs, it's actually because fundamentally they hold different beliefs than they espouse. So one thing that we were trying to get to with our work at Spence is what are the beliefs that we actually think we hold, and are those can we confirm that we hold those beliefs through behaviors that we see that our schools. So that brought us to looking at enduring understandings. So I'm going to bring those up because they're on our website, but this is how you get to them if you either have a laptop or, I don't think anyone does, so I'll just go straight to it. So I'm going to exit out of the presentation, and I'm just going to the Spence website, because this is where our enduring understandings live. So we have a program that we're right now calling Purpose and Community. As I said, my title is Director of Outreach and Public Purpose. So we're basically looking at what at Spence as an institution is a big drain on the community in terms of everything from the water we use and the fact that we don't have to pay the same rate as everyone else because we're a nonprofit, to pulling kids from a public education system on the Upper East Side to a number of other ways that we train our community. So we're looking to find what is our purpose in our community if we're mostly a drain. And so there's a quote I love: "We come into the world already obligated by the mere gaze of the other, a gaze that demands from us a response." And I try to get his name right every single time I say it. He's a French philosopher. It's Emmanuel Levinas. Great, thanks. And I first saw this quote on the wall of the synagogue in Westchester. And I love it because it actually responds to two parts of my belief system, which impacts how I lead a service program. One is the fact that I see all of you here and I feel a sense of connection to you, and I feel a sense of that there's equality between us, and that I believe that the experience you all have matters just as much as the experience I have, and that you're no better than I am, but you're certainly no worse than I am. So there's this kind of equality of humanity I believe in. I also happen to be a religious person, so I admit I am a Christian. And so it also speaks to that I have this religious belief that is based off of justice through love and forgiveness, and that's kind of guiding how I work as well. I do not work in a Christian school, so I'm not creating a Christ-centered service program, at least. Look at that. At least not.
Computer, just tap.
Just tap the computer, thanks. At least not. Great, okay. Yeah, I'll throw in another thing. I'm also gay. I'm married to a woman. We have a child, and another one on the way. I feel like it's better to just tell people. Otherwise, they're like, another one on the way. And that actual, the way that those conflict, particularly in the society we live in now, has really shaped a lot of how I see service. So there you go. There's a little bit about my identity that certainly has impacted how I've helped with the rest of the school develop this program. All right, so Purpose and Community is a K-12 program whose mission is to prepare Spence students to use an ethic of care when engaging with and serving in their community, and to use their time, education, resources, and the power of partnership to interrupt and reverse systemic inequities. All right, we're going to come back to that at one point. We define an ethic of care as the belief that all humans have value and deserve respect, and that empathy is a virtue that must be cultivated. It's not a natural, in many ways, a natural emotion to have for others. We define service as active engagement with others that helps to ameliorate a state of need. And we always use this model called the FAR model, meaning we must familiarize our students with what they're doing first, then they act, and then there's reflection. So that's the model we often use. I won't be able to go through this. So these are the 11 enduring understandings that currently stand. What we do is we write out an enduring understanding and we've paired it with a misunderstanding. And I'll explain that process as the presentation goes on. So the first one is to serve is to acknowledge the humanity in oneself and in others. The flip misunderstanding of that is that we are obligated to serve primarily by noblesse oblige. So this is the misunderstanding that the service team believes our Spence community holds. But this is actually what we're trying to teach. And these are questions that we use throughout K through 12 to try to get at this enduring understanding. It's the idea that enduring understandings should be learned by the time students go through the program, even if they were never overtly stated. So this should be something that's so present in the curriculum that they can almost state it in their own words without ever having seen it. Many of our students have not seen this, just so you know. I'll click through. If you did, there's a document with all of this written down in the middle on the table. So if you are having a hard time seeing this, please feel free to pop up and grab it. All right. Anyone else want to help me with reading? Just reading the understanding and the misunderstanding. Yeah, great.
So service is selfless and selfish. And the misunderstanding is service is noble because it is selfless.
All right. Anyone can
Serve locally first, misunderstanding. The people who really need help live in other communities.
The Upper East Side is one of the wealthiest spots in the world.
Service requires a reciprocal relationship between partners. Misunderstanding, there are two types of humans, those who need help and those who don't.
That gets it, I think, what you were saying.
Help is defined with the person who needs help. Misunderstanding, I know what you need to thrive.
This one feels really essential to my experience at my school. That we are an elite school and we absolutely know what is needed to heal the world.
Race impacts experience. Biracial identity does not impact how I see the world nor how others experience the world.
We'll get more into that further in the presentation.
Wanting to do good is not enough. I must impact to make an impact.
I must, act, I may be rewritten there, act to make an impact, yeah.
Okay. As long as I don't harm anyone, I'm not part of the problem.
So it's like that idea that all injustices are committed by those who are actively doing harm. That would be the misunderstanding.
Change is both slow and possible. Major social injustices will never be fixed. I can fix institutionalized oppression.
Yeah, so this is like, we have students who both think that they will be the person that fixes like racism in the United States, and then we have students who are completely hopeless about race in the United States. And we actually won't want them to be on either pole. We want them to be aware that fixing institutionalized oppression is not easy, and it is what we are working towards to live.
Injustices affect everyone. If I don't experience it, it doesn't affect me.
People have important and rewarding careers in healthcare communities. There are no good jobs in the social service industry, and thus a job in the social service industry is not a worthy aspiration for a STEM student.
We've worked with so many amazing community partners, and we really want our students to see that that is a career option for them. Because when you ask our students what they want to be, that never comes up. So that seems to be an issue.
Social injustices were started and are perpetuated by humans and institutions with power. Misunderstandings, it's always been this way, and therefore efforts to change the system are futile. We're not responsible for what previous generations did.
All right, so that's the 11th one. It's the last one listed on your sheet. And before we kind of process what just place. I want to show you hot off the presses. One we're considering adding, and one we're actually going to add, just so you know. It's just that it's called the 12th Enduring Understanding. It's just our faculty hasn't seen it yet, so I can't tell you we're going to add it because we actually haven't brought it to the faculty yet. Just the service team has been talking about it, and that is service work is social justice work. And the misunderstanding is that any service is good and helpful creates equity. And we're really stuck in that right now. So these are some of the questions that will pair with that. The one I think I'm most interested in right now is that one. What would a just society look like, and how does what I see in my neighborhood and New York City fall short of this? And are there ways in which my service perpetuates a system of inequality? So in what ways do I actually hold on to a system of power and make sure that it's perpetuated? So, just, you know, that's the 12th one. Okay, I'm really trying, and as a teacher at heart, I'm an administrator now, but I still teach at least one class. And so I'm trying to make presentations based on everything I know about teaching and learning. And so, has anyone read Make It Stick? That book? Yeah, Make It Stick. So I love that book, and I put it at the top of your teacher reading pile. It's about how the brain works, and therefore how we should, the ways that we should learn, and therefore how we should teach. So Make It Stick, great one. So I'm using some of those ideas throughout the presentation, which leads us to this slide. So silently, you can either look back through the document, if you need me to bring it to you, I'm happy to. Which enduring understanding resonates the most with you? So silently think about that, and then we'll share out. Now I'd like to share which one's resonating the most for you and why.
I went with help is defined with the person who needs help instead of I know you need to drive. It's a very big issue at my school. I get a lot of kids coming in saying like, oh, I want to do this, whatever the idea is, you know. And then when you have a discussion with them, I'm like, well, do you actually look to see like, is that something that this group needs? Is this something, have you looked into it and actually research it? And it tends to be, you know, like, oh, I just heard somebody else did this program and I thought it was cool and thought we should do it too, right? They're not really looking at the actual needs of the study.
Was it Becky?
Yeah. All right, so I chose service requires a reciprocal relationship between partners. I think that's something we talk about amongst adults and kids all the time. But it's still, there's still this idea, it's very related to my misunderstanding that I wrote down, and we are the ones with everything to give, and the people we're working with outside our community, unless they're from another private school nearby, are the ones, they have nothing to give, right? And they're the ones who need all the help. And I think especially as like our school's shifting into having a more diverse student body, we may be majority affluent and white, but even within our school when we're interacting with it's a very dangerous assumption to make when a lot of our kids, that's not their reality, we're adults.
Yeah. And that notion of how beliefs drive behaviors, if your school holds that belief, like, think about all the behaviors you probably see within the school that are not only harmful to every student and every faculty person in the school, certainly more so to others than probably more so to kids of color or kids in a lower socioeconomic category, but also to those who are not, like, just perpetuating the system. So, anyone else want to share? Yeah.
I'm particularly interested in the relationship between race impacts experience and injustices affect everyone, and that parallel of understanding.
I'm a white person, and my service team is 75% white. There's 4 of us, 3 of us are white, and one woman is not white, is biracial Chinese Filipino. And so, if you look at our faculty, we are majority white. And if you look at our student population, we are majority white. And so we're all having a racial experience. And racism in our school affects everyone, but it's in very different ways of how it affects everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one that resonated with me, well, a lot of them did, but injustices affect everybody. But I put a slightly different twist on the misunderstanding, or an addition to it, an addendum to it. If I don't experience it, it doesn't affect me, and it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that's one of our biggest challenges is that people can't. A lot of people, and maybe even our young people, have difficulty seeing someone else's experiences because they either have lack of experience or lack of understanding or lack of empathy or those sorts of things. So that's one of our biggest challenges.
Yeah, I'm writing that down. I steal everything, just so. Awesome, yeah. Just like lack of belief that even is an injustice. Terrific. Oh, yeah.
I think another one that really resonates with me with our school is serve locally first. This is a huge one for us where I think there's a value judgment put on serving abroad, that it is somehow inherently better, or it's bigger, or it's more important, or it's meeting a more significant need. And I work in Westchester County, New York, which is a very affluent area as well, but there are also plenty of communities where there's an extremely high level of need, but that is seen as less glamorous or less exciting to do. And that's a big problem.
I actually had a conversation with a student about 2 weeks ago because he felt that, we have a community service requirement, and he felt that, contributing to an organization that saves lives is more important than, and not saying it isn't, but that we shouldn't be forcing students to volunteer their time locally to tutor local children or to serve at the food bank, because it's not as meaningful, in his opinion, as donating money to an AIDS organization or an organization that's helping to feed starving children. And trying to explain how important local and global efforts are. So, I mean, tutoring that one student could impact the trajectory of his entire family's life.
Which could end up saving lives. That's why I love with that one, it says serve locally first. It's basically we're saying, because I steal everything. I'm stealing this from a New York Times doc about, it's called An African's Message to America, I believe. And it's a very powerful, short 7-minute doc. And he basically says that your community is the one that you know the best. And there's issues in your community. So why would you think that going to, he's Kenyan, why would you think to going to Kenya would be where you start? Like, you don't know what their issues are. You don't have any sense of what that community is. And so that's where we really got that idea of serving first. So I love the debate with the students, because they push back on that one all the time. And that, I feel like, is where a lot of learning happens, is in that discussion. Great. So the next is which enduring understanding misses the mark, at least for your school. I know you don't know Spence all that well, so it might be hard to comment for our school. But you might think globally it just misses the mark, like overall. So think about that.
Sorry, do you mean that one that's not working right now? Or one that you don't?
Well, I was more thinking one that you think is not a good enduring understanding, like something that we actually shouldn't be teaching. Save the ones that are not working for later on. All right, so if you have stuff that's not working in your school, I totally get it. Many of these are not working at my school. But yeah, are there any that you feel like actually are not, it's not something you want to teach at your school? Yeah, go for it.
Oh, sorry, are we supposed to be still?
Hey, I think we're great. We've given the time, let's do it.
The one, wanting to do good is not enough, I must act to make an impact is an interesting one for me to think about. Sort of the idea of wanting to do good, because I think I see a lot of students who act without wanting to do good, so that it's not necessarily the precursor. It's not just that you can't stop at wanting to do good, it's that you can't start at making an impact without considering where the drive to act is coming from. And so that relationship is just interesting for me to think about.
Yeah. And maybe that's held in tension with that 12th one we want to put out, which says that we believe that all services. Yeah, thanks. Any other one? Yeah.
The 12th one, service work is social justice. I keep thinking it should be social justice, or can be, because we don't want to discredit the other types of service work that are valuable, but maybe aren't. I mean, I guess it depends on how you define social justice.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that
particularly like with religious communities and when I was studying in England, service learning service isn't the word that you would use, because service implies duty, like service to your country or military service. But I don't know if you would argue that military service is social justice. So
I'm writing down both of those ideas. You and Allison just gave.
can be, should be.
Yeah.
Actually, sort of piggybacking on that thought, I question the word social justice in there, because I think there are a lot of different kinds of justice we can be striving towards. You know, there's environmental justice, which can have a social justice component to it, but maybe doesn't always. So is it just service work can be justice work?
Yeah.
And to embrace a larger spectrum of the kinds of service you might do.
Yeah, what's interesting is we were having similar thoughts at the same time as I was thinking, we haven't actually defined what social justice is. We defined what service is, we defined what an ethic of care is. Maybe we need to do that, and then maybe that will boil down to just justice. Great, thanks for letting me use you all too. Hopefully that helped you reflect as well. Okay. Okay, so this is how we created the Enduring Understandings. We took a full year to do it. So I decided to create the first Enduring Understanding because I wanted people to have a sense of what they were. And this is directly from my own life. I am heavily involved in a camp called Camp Viva. It's a 1-week summer camp for families affected by HIV/AIDS. So someone in the family is living with the virus, and the only point of the camp is a week of fun. A lot of the families can't afford to send their kids to summer camp, and oftentimes they're trying to hide their the virus, that they have the virus, and this is a place where we just assume everyone has it. So because of that, because of how much fun I've had at this camp, how much just what an enjoyable experience it is for me, like just on a very surface level, that got me thinking a few years ago, like service is both selfish and selfless. Like this is a really selfish experience that I have every summer. So that's where that one came from. And I just started sharing it with the service team and with people in general, students, things like that, just slipping in conversation. And so then, once we had that one, I just met individually with members of my service team. I have some a rep in the lower school, a rep in the middle school, a rep in the upper school. And we just started talking about misunderstandings that we hear, we see, that are in our community that are connected to community service. And then we said, okay, if that's a misunderstanding that exists, what are we actually trying to teach instead? And I found that to be a really helpful place to start, is to start with the misunderstanding and figure out the understandings from that. It was a really fun process of meeting. It's like, what happens in our community that we hate? And then we can talk about what the belief system was underneath. So from that, we basically created a working document. And so then we decided to run that draft through 2 National School Reform Faculty Protocols. Those are just, they're free online protocols, most of them, that usually like Critical Friends groups use. I don't know if you've heard of that. They're just basically ways to look at student work, ways to evaluate documents, ways to team building. They're a cool organization. So we used 2 of them. We used a 4A's text protocol, just with our 4-person service team. Basically, it has you look at the text through the lens of 4 different questions. So you look at the document 4 different times, each time with a new question. And we made some pretty significant changes to the document based on that. And then once we had that new draft, we took it to our K-12 curriculum team and used a tuning protocol, another way to look at a document and try to kind of tear it apart and see where it's strong, see where it's weak. And that was really, we were interested in the comments that the curriculum team had. They definitely changed the document, but we were actually more interested in getting the curricular leaders in our school to know these enduring understandings. And so we spent an hour and a half in a tuning protocol with them, and that was probably the best thing we did to create faculty buy-in. So every curricular leader in our school, like our division heads, department heads, had a sense of this document, liked it, felt like they contributed to the final product. And from their feedback, we basically created a final draft. Final draft, almost final draft. And we brought, this was the hardest part of it for me. We brought it to Glenn Singleton of Pacific Education Group. Glenn is a man that my school has partnered with for 8 years now. He's an anti-racist educator who's done really phenomenal work and really helped to change our school, which again I'll talk a little bit more about later. We had him take a look at the document, which made me very nervous. And he was excited about it, and it was like just a flag we were able to plant. Like we felt like we'd made some progress as a team, so that was cool. And then last, we presented to the K-12 faculty so that everyone knows about it. So we spent a full faculty meeting. We split by lower school and then middle school, upper school. So we spent a full faculty meeting in each of those 2 splits.
Can I ask you what motivated the beginnings of this process? In other words, how you got started with this?
Before that?
Yeah.
I didn't know what we were doing around service.
So, but did someone say do this, or
No,
did you just decide to take it on yourself?
Oh no, I stepped into the role. So I've been at Spence for eight years, I believe. I was hired as a math teacher, kind of went through some dean roles, and then 2 years ago I was asked to be the director of outreach and public purpose. And I stepped into it, and I was like, I don't get what we're doing or why we're doing it. And so it just came from me wanting to figure out what's the foundation for everything we do.
Oh, I just wanted to add to that question.
Yeah.
The role that you stepped into, how long had it been going on at the school? And then, so was there this shift when you then took it over, if it had been in existence before?
Yeah, so it's been around this is its 8th year, so it's actually been around for as long as I've been at the school. It was our head of school's idea. She's been at the school 9 years. And she created a senior admin position called the Director of Outreach and Public Purpose. And she always envisioned it as you'll hear, she cares quite a bit about us becoming an anti-racist institution, as do I. So she always knew that we'd be part of it, but mostly she wanted us to understand our place in the community and the fact that, I don't know if she'd use these words, but that we're mostly a drain on the community, and how can we not just be a drain on the community. I make it sound like we're this horrible, like, niche in our community. I'm not necessarily saying that, I'm just saying that there's ways that we could don't have to just be strong inside, but we can be strong externally as well. So, yeah.
Have you encountered any resistance from your parents or that? I mean, I'm just,
Yeah. You mean about what's actually written down?
or, the whole process part.
Yeah.
Creating a service program.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but we've encountered a lot of resistance to our work on race. And so I have a feeling that all of that resistance to the work on race has been actually, basically this has come after our work on race. And so that took all the brunt of it. So when they hear services, social justice, they're now more racially conscious. Our schools, we are now more racially conscious than we were. And so I think that's one of the reasons we haven't hit as much resistance. There's been some resistance in terms of, we wouldn't even call it resistance. There's been some teachers that haven't been excited to start working on stuff, but that's cool. There's plenty of teachers that are. And I'm only my second year in it, so it's like, I'm just gonna give it, change is both slow and possible. And so I really live by the fact that we can slowly get this work. Okay, so this is examples of how we use our enduring understandings, and just they guide every single thing we do. So that's a reason we always go back to this document whenever we're designing anything. So this is just some examples. This is another packet of information. You have the grade 1 curriculum for New York Common Pantry in front of you. I did not make any fancy edits to what these documents. These are all documents that are directly on our server at Spence. So any typos or if there might be bold-faced questions in them, it's because they're a living document that we are still editing. So basically, we wanted to figure out how do we build a K-4 curriculum for students that addresses hunger in New York City. And we partner with an organization called the New York Common Pantry K-12. They're in our neighborhood. They provide food and other services for both the housed and the homeless. And so if you take a look at the curriculum, it's the front page. You can see that at the very top, we just took a look at what enduring understandings we are actually targeting in this grade 1 curriculum. So we wrote those down. And then we thought, well, what's specific? What are the understandings we're trying to build just in grade 1 with New York Common Pantry? So it's everything from understand that being hungry isn't unpleasant emotional and physical experience that affects performance in school, to identifying how their response to actually being at the pantry. They start going to the pantry in kindergarten. So you can just see that that's where we start, and then we build the curriculum off of that. The only thing I want to highlight I'll highlight that a little bit, but you can take a look at that kind of on your own if you want to see how it, basically the familiarize, act, reflect actions should help bring about those understandings. That's our goal. I'll get back to these two, the compasses, soon. It's the next part of the presentation. Then on the back of page 2, it's our grade 5 does a partnership with Stanley Isaac Center, which is just a local neighborhood center. All these are walking distance of our school. And the Mother Tongue School, which is not walking distance of our school, it's on Cape Cod. And I specifically chose this one because the Mother Tongue project failed, and I want to tell you why. As you can see, again, we started with enduring understandings that were based off of the core enduring understandings we have. The most probably important ones for this one, Native Americans are the experts of their own history. Elders have experience that can only be gained through living many years, and that we can learn a lot from listening to their stories. Basically, they were trying to build a curriculum that that connected to their history unit on storytelling as history. And so we tried to have them partner with 2 different organizations. The one with Stanley Isaacs has worked beautifully. They basically meet with seniors at that center. The seniors tell them their life history, and then together they build a scrapbook of the life history. And it's something that the senior center wanted. They felt like they were losing the life stories of their members, and they wanted to keep a library of scrapbooks of their members. So they told us what they wanted. We said we can build that, and it goes perfectly with our curriculum. We can do this. And we thought, well, what a great connection to our unit on American Indian history, because we could then partner with a school that's specifically for American Indian children, and they could just do storytelling about their cultures. Well, that failed. And the reason that failed is that the needs that this mother tongue school had, we could not meet. So they actually just needed money. And for our 5th graders, we felt like they were not in the spot where raising money for another school was going to be an act that we felt it was going to be an act that perpetuated a hierarchy of power. And so we actually said, you know what, it's not the right time for either school, let's not do this. So that was we went through a lot of hours of creating this curriculum with Mother Tongue School and then bailed on it because it didn't meet one of our enduring understandings, is that help is defined with the group that needs help, and that we're trying to actually break down power, imbalance of power. And so, so that's just an example of that.
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what the question is.
Yeah.
But, so I'm throwing this out to the group. What are ideas of how, because to me that wasn't a failure, it was just like a reset button.
Sure.
But what could be done? Because it seems like because I'm sitting here thinking, well, is there a partnership with their students and your 5th graders that they could do something together in terms of raising money? So it's not like we're gonna just give it to you,
Yeah.
but we're, I don't know, but I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
is that something that just needs to end, or, I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe it's talking more to the school and.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, because one of the ideas we had was, well, the mother tongue school is trying to preserve 2 things. One is the language of the different peoples that are coming into the school, because according to United States law, I think you can't be considered a nation unless you have a language. Like, that's one of the categories. I'm not an expert on this, so if I'm saying anything that's wrong, that you know it's wrong, please let me know. But you have to have a language, and that language is being lost. And then they're also trying to preserve culture. And so we thought one thing that would be cool is for the mother tongue kids over Skyping to teach a craft that's part of their culture, and then our students will learn how to make the craft, and then both schools could sell the craft and raise money that way. And maybe that's getting closer to kind of what they need, but it just, for them, it was like, no, we need money faster than that. Like, we don't need that type of money, we need money. So that's why but I think you're right, and that there's gotta be ways to somehow build a partnership that's built on a power balance and built on the needs of both schools. So.
Maybe later after they build their endowment or something.
All right, so sorry, I kind of went through that. Great. Then the class of 2018, we started this new idea that in upper school, each class would spend 4 years developing a project as a grade, and because we wanted to stick with it for a time, so they spend the whole first year researching. They look at issues in New York City that bother them. They look at the history of those issues. Our librarian has helped build this amazing website that has links to all these different organizations that break down, like, why does hunger exist in New York City? And then they look at nonprofits that exist to meet that issue, and then they pick one to then support for the next 3 years. So our class of 2018 was the first group to go through this, so they're sophomores, so they're the first ones. But every decision we made about the program, again, was based on the enduring understandings. So can that nonprofit be in other cities beside New York City? No, because we're going to serve locally first this time. Things like that. So again, that curriculum's there. It's just in case you want to look through it and need ideas. So, yeah.
I don't want to get you diverted too much.
Sure.
At least looking at that final program, class of 2018 in your senior school, I'm wondering about time. You said the freshman year, the ninth grade, they spend the time researching these problems and arriving at a focus.
Yeah.
But how does that happen?
Yeah, absolutely, because both of these are connected to curriculum that already existed, just so you
Okay.
know, yeah. So this is the only one that's not connected to a class, it's connected to our advising system. So they do it all through advising. Each advisory chooses a nonprofit that they feel like the grade should support. They make a presentation to their grade, and the grade chooses one. So there's a lot of broken hearts at the end of it. But we say, if you want to work on something with that organization, and that wasn't chosen, like, do it. It's not a great project. Yeah.
With that curriculum too, so do you ever encounter and how do you deal with if they pick something that then when you go through the motions of exploring, how that would work, it won't work
Oh,
for
got it.
whatever reason or for each reason? So
Yeah, so
how do you deal with that?
part of the research they have to do is they have to actually call these nonprofits and have a conversation with them. And so part of their presentation has to be how you, ways that they talked with the nonprofit about how 60 students, up to 60 students could volunteer, not necessarily all at one time. So that's part of kind of built in. So they can't pick a nonprofit that doesn't actually have volunteer opportunities that would meet their needs.
So you might get broken hearts on the other side.
Exactly, yes. So that's the other thing, is some nonprofits have been like, hey, we're so excited for you, and it's like, we at this point, we can't do it. The one maybe saving grace of that is that a lot of times kids will talk, this year, from our experience, I can't say a lot of times, kids from the class of 2019 have been talking to the class of 2018 and said, were there any groups you talked with that you really liked? So there is that kind of hand-me-down model, but yeah, you're right, that's a great way to look at it about reciprocal.
Well, and also, it sounds like the students give a presentation about all the organizations.
Yeah,
So there is exposure to all the students, so if they want to develop a one-on-one relationship and call them, or pockets of friends may say, hey, we still want to support this one too, we can go volunteer. Getting back to the advisory, how often do those advisory teams meet? And do they have other things to cover too, and this is just a part of it?
Yeah.
Or is this specifically focused on?
Yeah, they're basically working on this in their freshman year from December